guys? Welcome back to the No Holds Barred Network with another episode of Indy Talks. I'm your host, as always, the queen of the Indies, Tiffany. And there's always so much independent content that I have for you guys. So we're going to bring out a little panel for you. I'm so excited to bring on Matthew Ryan. It's been a while. How are you?
Doing well. It is getting colder outside, but, a lot of fun stuff happening in the world of professional wrestling, and I'm always happy to make time for you to talk about it.
Yay, I'm so excited. Thank you so much. If you guys seen, I was at the last Catalyst show, so you can view that on the Indy Talks section. We did a little backstage. We got to do a little chatting. Matt was on there. We had a whole bunch of wrestlers. Just a good, fun time to, hang out. Guys, make sure you share, subscribe, turn those bells on so you can see all the stuff that we have for you on the No Holds Barred Network. So if you guys are new to our Indie Talks here, I do everything independent wrestling. I got backstage stuff for you. I got panels. We got to talk about all up and coming shows. So we're going to focus today on Catalyst Wrestling, which I'm so excited about, which is coming up. Are you ready? Yep. Are you stressed out?
I'm never not stressed out. That's just me as a human being.
Right.
Anybody who knows me always looks at me like I'm about to have some sort of major medical event. So stress and me go hand in hand walking down the beach like the end of a romantic comedy.
I feel like that's the key that I talk to a lot of promoters. I'm okay, so on a scale, how stressed out are you before, this up and coming show? And then the day of the show, I see all you guys running around with your head cut off pretty much.
There's a lot that goes into a pro wrestling show at any level, especially when you're shooting it for TV. So a shout out to the production crew at Catalyst Wrestling who make our show look as good as it does. The guys over at Super Jaw down in North Carolina, Ben Falbo, Dean Silverberg, everybody at Catalyst HQ, Eddie, Danny, Walsh, all of our shooters, all of our producers. We couldn't get any of this done without them, and I'm really excited. Stress, obviously, about the show. Whenever you're running a show, you're stressed out because you're dealing with 90 million things at once. But I'm really excited for this show. I'm really excited for this card. I'm really excited for the direction we're going in, coming out of what we all in the industry have been dealing with for the past nearly 2 years. Mm-hmm. So it is fun to put on shows with fans again, put on shows in front of audiences, and kind of spread the word of what we're doing, not only in Catalyst, but across the industry.
Yeah, that's got to be hard. We've talked with a lot of people, and everybody felt it. The fans felt it, the wrestlers felt it behind stage during the pandemic, and here we are now. We got live shows back, which is great. A lot have done records without the fans, which is weird, and we've talked to a lot of wrestlers too that it was different. You're not used to that. You kind of like to feed off the fans. Definitely stressed, but I'm so glad that we got it. We're back now, and we get to see all this live action. So it's so great. I want to start off for the fans that are not aware of you and not aware of Catalyst Wrestling. But I want to ask you, what motivated you to start your own promotion?
Honestly, it's my passion and love for pro wrestling. About 5 years ago, we came up with the idea of Catalyst Wrestling as an alternative. This is before AEW, before All Out, before All In, before all of this, and it was I would say independent wrestling was reaching towards this tipping point we had now, and I love wrestling television. I grew up watching it as a person who loves pro wrestling and works in pro wrestling. That idea of television was always an interesting way for us to tell stories. And up here in the New York metro area, there hasn't been a lot of that over the past few years. So we decided to develop a half hour every single week of TV pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. And as we've grown, we've been able to modify the style to give it a modern presentation, use some of the best athletes from, one of the greatest wrestling hubs in the world, New York, New Jersey, going down to the Carolinas, going up to get people like Carter Mason from Canada, building up a solid core of human beings who are supremely talented. It was all about just telling stories we wanted to tell with people we found value in.
Right.
That's what Catalyst Wrestling's been about since the very beginning. And that's one of the things that we push forth as kind of our mission statement, going all the way back to 2017 in a cold church in Jersey City to now this coming up on next Friday night in Ridgefield Park.
Yeah, that's so great. It's such a great venue. Definitely, like, I feel like everybody runs there, which is great, and it's good for like New Yorkers like me, that it's not even that far, which is great. And you could take the train the bus if you don't drive. So that's a nice little piece. And but Matt Awesome's in the chat. How are you? He said, hope all is well, Matt. So amazing. It's been a while. I miss ya. So let's talk about where Catalyst, like, the name came from.
Well, the name of Catalyst, we decided to rebrand in 2020. Before everything that happened in the world of wrestling, basically the whole shutdown happened.
Yeah.
We planned on changing the name, kind of changing up the vibe of our branding, and it was in a conversation with one of our producers, Stephanie Sotilli. She pitched the name Catalyst because it's the thing that creates a chain reaction. And one of the things we've always been looking for as a company is the opportunity to be the launching pad for talent, being the opportunity for them to be the ones that you've seen for the first time, that or giving them their first big opportunity, or being the change in the industry, whether it's in presentation, whether it's in match style, or just doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff.
Right.
So from there, we agreed on the name, we made the move, and since then we've been Catalyst Wrestling, and we haven't looked back. I love the way our brand looks and feels now. It's starting to take on a real great shape in presenting what we are. We want to be that catalyst in the wrestling industry and be a place for talent across the board to have these opportunities like this. Next Friday night, 8 nights from now, Mance Warner and Steve Gibkey are facing each other for the first time. You have Jordan Oliver going up against Ghost Shadow in a match that I'm surprised never happened before. You have two people who are so similar in their demeanor and their focus on creating and defining the style of pro wrestling, whether at middleweight, open weight, whatever you want to talk about. And then you've got Homicide going up against Wrecking Ball Legursky. You got the Slam Jam, which is a really funny story of how we ended up with Slam Jam as a name and being able to promote an album. Like, it was just such a weird confluence of events that got us there, and it wasn't even a part of the plan initially. We had this idea for a tag team gauntlet, and we saw all the great teams we have in Catalyst Wrestling. You've got the Rep, you've got To Infinity and the Pond, Lucky 13 and Eric Martin, two of the best professional wrestlers on the planet right now.
Yeah.
And both of them together make it's kind of like Condrey and Eaton in a sense, because you have Lucky 13, who's been around the world. He's been a well-traveled wrestler, a guy who's really defined himself time and time again in just being an incredible athlete, an incredible performer, and just an entertaining human being across the board. And then you have Eric Martin, who's built like a brick shithouse. He's incredibly talented, some great training behind him, someone who's been a part of Catalyst since show number 1 as part of the classics. And having them as a team really is fun and interesting. And they're 2-time tag team champions alongside Wrecking Ball Legursky and Casey Navarro in HBI, probably one of the more interesting acid test stables in all of pro wrestling, but has been really sustained throughout the last 3.5 years.
Wow. It's nuts. Like, I mean, how is it for you, right? Like, we've got, like you brought up like AEW, and AEW has been great, and it's the alternative. Like, I love AEW. I think one of the coolest things for me personally is a lot of people that I see in AEW nowadays is people that I followed in the independent scene. And you had like Sonny Kiss, for example, that had worked for you numerous times. And like, here he is.
Was our second champion.
Yeah. Like, How nuts is that, like, for you? Of course, like, you want everybody to succeed, and it's amazing feeling to see these guys move on and get contracts, you know? And then sometimes they come, and I see them hanging out at shows, just hanging out, not even necessarily, like, come to go work the shows, but just to come sit and watch your guys' shows. Like, how cool of an experience is that for you?
It's great being able to be the launching pad, be the catalyst for people to get opportunities, or be the catalyst in getting them different opportunities in their careers is tremendous. It makes my heart, feel good seeing people like Sonny Kiss, Nyla Rose, MJF I've booked him in the past in Catalyst, a match against Anthony Gangone, which is on our YouTube channel right now. We have so many different talent that have walked through our doors and have really established themselves across pro wrestling, and that's all their work. We're just a small part of a much, much bigger world.
Right.
But when you have a guy like Colby Carino who's in the NWA, you have someone like Homicide helping not only in the ring but also his mind, his understanding of the industry. It's what you want as a producer, promoter, whatever you want to call yourself. Those are the things that you really, really want as in any level of the industry. You want to be able to establish the guys who are already there, develop the next generation, and be able to give these legends, give these great minds a different opportunity to help develop and shape talent and also define their own legacy.
Right. No, it's so amazing to see and watch, where they go and where they start. I love doing that. Or like even today, like whoever is like signed that I don't know, that I could go back into the history, even when I do like interviews with wrestlers, and then like I'll go deeper into, and then it's like you start like, oh wow, they worked here, and then you start searching up matches that they've had that were like listed, and it's like blows my mind. Like the other day I was going through like 2012 stuff. It's just nuts, right? Like we've just evolved, right? Is always the word that I love to use when it comes to it. But let's talk about this, okay? Because like I also want to also help out the fans, because your show's next week and we'll get deeper into that or whatever. But for a fan that's never seen, Catalyst Wrestling or Capital Wrestling before, we're gonna gear them up and get ready so they're all excited for your show next week. What are some matches that you would recommend that fan to go sit and watch?
If you're looking at our back catalog, Casey Navarro versus Steve Gibkey, we have those matches on our YouTube channel. We have those matches on Fight. Their feud over the past year and a half has been one of the best pieces of television I've ever been a part of. Mm-hmm. If you take a look at the finals of the Side Out tournament between Steve Gibkey and Casey Navarro, the road we got to that point, showcasing the personalities of Steve and Casey, just kind of understanding what they're doing and their motivations, and also just great wrestling. Yeah. Like Casey and Gibkey, I've seen them wrestle each other in Catalyst quite a few times, and in all three of their matches, the level and the bar keeps getting pushed. That I Quit match between them, I put it in the upper echelon of I Quit matches I've ever seen, and it's not just because I produced the show or help run the company. It's because Casey Navarro and Steve Gibkey gave it their all in front of no audience on a closed set, and you still felt that heat, that anger, that presence there, that emotional intent to hurt the other one and make them say 2 words, 5 letters, I quit. And then we have the Side Out Island fight between Colby Carino and Homicide, another match that takes place on a closed set. But if you're a fan of wrestling history and you've seen the empty arena match between Terry Funk and Jerry the King Lawler, you know that there's like this power about an open canvas, about that intense. You're getting a more close-up look. You're getting a more you're breaking all the creature comforts of pro wrestling, and you're getting really in depth into this fight between them, because you're hearing everything, you're feeling everything, you're seeing everything. Like Colby Carino goes through a flaming door and keeps on fighting. Like that match right there is one of the best things we've ever produced. Take a look at the 2 out of 3 doors matches between The Rep and Hot Boys International. Anthony Gangone's run as Sapphire Television Champion, the story of the Sapphire TV title, and how it became one of the toughest titles to, if you lose that title, you might go insane. Like, we've seen former holders of the title slip off into the ether. It's called the Curse of Juanita, because the Memfo Mofo, one of the former holders of the title, called it Juanita in honor of Sapphire, the former manager of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. So you have so many different elements within our show. But the great thing about our matches is that you can just drop into any episode, like Colby Corino versus Jordan Oliver in a 30-minute Iron Man match. Who wouldn't want to watch that?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want to sit down and tuck into two of the best wrestlers in the world right now, who are under the age of 25, going all out for 30 minutes, bell to bell. And then, you know, there's so many things on our last show. You were there for it. Gib Key, KTB, and Homicide in one hell of a match. Darius Carter and Colby Corino. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That was, if you're a fan of old school professional wrestling, beating the ever-loving Jesus out of somebody. Colby Corino and Darius Carter is an epic in that sense. It allows you to just sit down for the entirety of that match, the entirety of that episode, and get enveloped in the story. There's so many talented human beings at every part of this company that you sit down, you watch an episode, you get what they're doing. You understand their motivations. You understand why these matches matter. And a shout out to Stephen James, our play-by-play announcer, and our commentary team for getting that stuff over, getting that stuff across, because without them, as a ex-wrestling announcer myself, that's the heart and soul of the industry, being able to help tell those stories in the ring, outside the ring. That's what you want to do as an announcer, and our team does a great job with that.
No, you definitely do. It's so fun to be with. Let's dig into your head a little bit. Like, how do you put these matches together? And it's like, what are you looking for when you put this together?
Well, it's a collaborative effort. You know, my producing partner Lee Mandan and I, we take a look at what's going on. We also, we listen. We listen to our talent who want to create, great matches with different opponents. We also see matchups. Like, when you're building a match, when you're building a card, you're trying to give people the best 2 hours to 2.5 hours you can give them from bell to bell. Yeah. And you have to prioritize story, and then write up is what's the best match. Go Shadow and Jordan Oliver. That's an easy sell right there. Go Shadow is an innovator of offense in this industry. He is one of the most unheralded legends of an era of professional wrestling in New York that has brought generations of brilliance. And he has had a real renaissance working for us in Catalyst Wrestling. He's held the freestyle title almost 2.5 years. It's almost at the 3-year mark. Once we get into the summer, he won it in August of 2019. So we're past 2 years, but that's the longest reign of a title in company history.
Yeah.
And then you have Jordan Oliver, who, kicks ass everywhere he goes, whether it's MLW, GCW, JCW, no matter what alphabet soup of organizations there are. If Jordan Oliver's on the card, you're getting a great match from Jordan Oliver. Yeah. And putting those two together, it's peanut butter and chocolate. Like, you're going to get a great match, and you're going to get two guys out there who want to steal the show. Right. They want to go out there and they want to prove that they are better than their opponent and that they're better than everybody on the card. So you look at that and you try to create balance, and you try to create these conflicts. You're inciting conflict. When you're a matchmaker, when you're a fight maker, you're establishing a conflict. And the two athletes that go into that ring, or how many ever athletes are in a match, like O'Shea Edwards versus KTB versus Lucky Ali. Lucky Ali fell into our laps, and this is a guy who's been on New Japan, NJPW Strong. He has developed quite a reputation down in the Carolinas, and he's someone that came on our radar, and we were like, yeah, he's got to be on this show. He's got to be on this card. And you have O'Shea Edwards, who, pretty much guaranteed himself a title shot at the Sapphire TV title after what he pulled at Steal the Show. And you have KTB, who kind of got robbed, who has a rightful claim for a shot at the TV title. So you put all three of them in the ring, you say a title shot is on the line, go for it, and you're going to see a really interesting stylistic clash. You have O'Shea, who has this great combination of Southern wrestling, being trained by Ricky Morton, someone who's been through the ROH dojo, and then you have KTB, a guy who, in New Jersey, former GCW champion, competed on AEW Dark, someone who has a lot in the tank. And then you have this unknown variable in Lucky Ali, who there's a lot of tape on him, but not a lot of tape on him in Catalyst, and just trying to see how he enters into that and how he can try to steal a victory over two guys bigger and stronger than him.
Yeah. It's going to be great. I love, like, you know, when you get like a lot of different styles of wrestling too. You know, you have your high flying, you have your Haas, you know, and especially when you start like mixing everything up as well, you know, that makes it fun. Is there a type of style that, you know, wouldn't interest you to book a match?
Wouldn't?
Yeah.
No, I am a pro wrestling fan.
Mm-hmm.
If the story, the match, and the talent makes sense, we'll do it. Like, death matches are harder.
Yeah.
Not only because of I don't want talent doing things that I wouldn't feel comfortable doing, but I'm not. It's an art form. It's truly its own art form within and without of professional wrestling. And you've seen, you know, a litany of talent. Like this weekend, we're going to see Matt Tremont and Onita, two of the finest deathmatch artists to ever step inside a professional wrestling ring, put their bodies on the line in an exploding ring deathmatch. Yeah. That's insane to me. The 2021 where that's happening, it's a wonderful time in pro wrestling. The only reason we don't do death matches is we run in churches, we run in schools, and we like our buildings.
Yeah. No, that's great. What is like your favorite like style of match to book?
Well, it's not incumbent upon me. It's what the fan. It's you know, we're putting a product out there we think the audience would like.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of old school territorial style wrestling. I'm a fan of modern professional wrestling. I grew up when I was in high school, went to Ring of Honor shows. Anytime they were in the Manhattan Center, my ass was there. So I like all types of wrestling. It's hard for me to pinpoint one specific style because I've been taking in pro wrestling fairly regularly since I was 1 year old.
Right.
So it's really hard for me to say, like, I like this in this only. Because you grow up watching WWE on Channel 9, Channel 11, then at 7 years old, you watch the first DCW pay-per-view, and your mind kind of implodes.
Yeah.
And then you go to a Cage of Death, and then you witness stuff, and then you enter the industry, and you just... For me, it comes down to the performers, and it comes down to the story.
Yeah.
If you can invest me, if you can get me invested in a match, that's the match I want to see. If you can get me to care on who wins and who loses and what's the goal, then you have me.
Right.
You have me.
Right. I think that's very important when you go to shows is, like, I need you to keep me. Like, that's what makes me come back, right? Like, so, yeah, definitely it's very important, even for us fans out there to catch that. And you guys definitely have that, which is amazing. So what's, like, you know, advice for, like, a fan, I'm sorry, not a fan, you know, a wrestler trying to get booked at Catalyst Wrestling? Like, what are you looking for? Like, I know this is such like a full-on like question, and I'm sure because I hear all the stories all the time. But again, like, you know, here you are, here's your promotion. You know, we talked about, like, you know, a million different styles. Is there anything particular, you know, like some advice that you would give them?
Be authentic. Like, if you're a character and you're that character, like, you've gotta have something that not a lot of other people have. You have to be pliable. You have to be someone who's willing to, you know, work hard, create opportunities for yourself, or work within this. You know, it's not just about if we promote you or we book you. It's about where are you going to go after this? How seriously do you take professional wrestling? How seriously do you take opportunities like this? And I'm not going to say, oh, we're the most important wrestling company in the world. You know, we're not. I'd like to think we are, but that's to me, because I'm the one running the show.
Right.
But when you're, you know, take this stuff seriously. You take pro wrestling seriously. You are willing to bust your ass. We're a company that it's opportunity. If we have an opportunity for you and we have something that will work for you, we'll book you. Yeah. We're not in the business of booking people just to book people. Yeah. That's at least our philosophy. If we have a good reason to have you aboard, if there's some way to maximize your value, we will do it. If there's a way for us to make our shows better because you're on them, because we're looking for, as promoters, we're looking for, things in the marketplace that aren't there, market inefficiencies. We're trying to make our shows more efficient. We're trying to make our content more interesting. We're trying to put everything together into a full package. And how do you enter into that is the question you've got to be asking yourself before you message a promoter. And then after that, like, where do you see it? Watch the content, obviously. Right. If you're reaching out to us and you've never watched an episode of our television, never watched a match, never watched a promo package, and you don't understand how we do things, then it's really hard for us to bring you in because, you're walking into something that may not be your average independent promotion because we operate a little differently. Doesn't mean we operate better. We just operate differently. So some people may not work within that, and it's no fault of their own.
Right. No, it's good stuff. Elliot's in the chat. He goes, he's simply ravishing. He goes, hey Matt, what's your favorite match of all time?
Oof. Favorite match. It's really hard.
Yeah.
I think Colby and Darius is one of my favorite matches I've ever seen live as a promoter. Live and in the venue, it's a little difficult. Danielson Omega earlier this year was amazing. Clash of the Champions 1, Sting and Ric Flair. That was one of the greatest moments of one of the revelatory moments in my life. If you're talking, it's hard. Like there's no one answer.
Yeah.
And that's the problem is like when you take in all this stuff, like it's like asking who your favorite band is.
Yeah.
Or who your favorite song is. It's just where you are in the day, where you are today. Like I can tell you it's a Midnights and Rock and Roll match from at some point or something else just from the deep dredges of the back catalog. But there's too many to mention and not enough I've seen.
Right. Nah, I definitely agree with it. Even the fact of like, it can change. It can constantly always change. Is there a match that you're still dying to book, like your dream match to like book at Catalyst? I'm sure there are.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure does it make it harder? Like a lot of people are signed too.
No, it's, you can't complain about the market. There's so many talented wrestlers in the marketplace right now. There's so many of them that are able to, like people like Casey Navarro and Jordan Oliver. They're signed to contracts, but we're lucky enough to have them on our rosters because MLW is a company that allows the independent scene to work with some of these great talent. There's, I would definitely love to see Mance Warner versus Colby Carino. I would love to see Jonathan Gresham versus anybody on our roster. Darius Carter, Colby Carino, Ghost Shadow. There's so many great people out there that I personally would love to see I would love to see those matches.
Yeah.
It's hard to say just one. One that I would like to see is O'Shea Edwards versus Darius Carter. Yeah. I think that one is a really compelling match, not just because they're currently partners and I don't want to break them up. It's more of like they're two of the most strong-willed, dedicated human beings I've ever seen in my professional life. And seeing them in the ring would probably break something in me because I would be so happy just to see what they can do and what they can put together. If you're asking like implausible matches, I would love to see Bryan Danielson versus Colby Carino.
Yeah.
That would be probably
man.
it would be unfair, but you know what? A lot of matches on this card are matches that I wanted to see, matches that me and Lee Mandan, my creative partner, wanted to see. That's why we put them together.
Yeah.
That's why those matches are there. That's why the talent is on this card. Like Mance Warner versus Steve Gibkey is not a match that you would, if you were playing EWR, you probably would have to stumble quite a few months through your playthrough to get to that point. But when you take a look at Steve Gibkey looking to define himself, going up against someone in Mance Warner who wrestled on television, who's probably going to be wrestling a lot more on television come the new year, and just came off a war against the Briscoes.
Yeah.
Those are two dudes that are willing to fight. They go about it in different ways. Steve Gibkey is more of a traditional wrestler. Mance Warner's a brawler, but he was also trained at the School of Rock. He was trained by Billy Rock, who is one of the best wrestlers to ever come out of the Midwest. And he's got that little bit of Tennessee, firebrand energy to him. So seeing that is just going to be a really interesting clash in styles. And then we have our social media exclusive. And that match is going to be a 5-way, by the way. Just to break a little news here, if you come a little early next Friday night, head to CatalystWrestling.com, buy your tickets now, get there early because you're going to want to watch this 5-way. You got Bobby Orlando, Diego Hill, you got Lucas, Homicide versus Wrecking Ball Legursky. Like, Homicide is the legend of New York professional wrestling. There is no one who defines this city and this style more than him. And then you have Wrecking Ball, who trained with a rival of Homicide, trained with the Team 3D. So you got a little bit of that anger there. You got a little bit of that frustration there. And also Wrecking Ball Legursky just debuted in the NWA. Homicide, a former NWA World Tag Team Champion, a former Catalyst Wrestling Champion. Wrecking Ball Legursky just lost the tag team titles a month ago as part of HBI. So having that as a match is something that will really interest me, because this is the toughest test Wrecking Ball's had since joining Catalyst, and the man went through a doors match, for God's sake.
Right.
If you're a fan of mixed martial arts, Matt Mikowski and Raymond Jazz is one of those matches where if you like old school shoot style wrestling and you grew up watching Pride, you grew up watching UFC like I did, you have a fully fleshed out mixed martial artist in Matt Mikowski who can hit a submission on you from anywhere. And then you got Ray Jazz, who's a legit All-American wrestler. Went to my school, NYU, and was a 2-time All-American, represented the school and the United States as an amateur wrestler. I have a little bit of NYU bias, so I'm kind of pulling for him on Friday night, November 5th. But good Lord, that card is awesome. And, that's not even the full show. You got the Slam Jam. You got the 5-team tag team gauntlet named after a WCW album because we've partnered with Jimmy Papa, the producer and the owner of the Slam Jam album. 5 teams. You got this gauntlet here. 3 teams are going to start. 1 team's going to walk out with the tag team titles. You got Lucky 13 and Eric Martin, like I was talking about before, the first ever 2-time tag team champions in Catalyst Wrestling. You've got Lou Bruno and Devontae's repping the Hudson County Horror Show. You got Anthony Gangone, and that cutout is no longer vacant. That is Big Game Leroy filling out that spot. And then you got the Catalyst Tag Team Champions walking into their first defense against 4 other teams in a gauntlet. And, Rob Killjoy and the Infinite Man, Infinite TIM, they're frenemies. They're a part of the Workhorsemen. They ride with Colby Carino. They ride with JD Drake. But these guys were on opposing sides for so long in this industry, whether as a part of the Gymnasty Boys and the Ugly Ducklings or just facing each other throughout the Carolinas, throughout the Southeast. Like, the fact that these guys were able to get along in their first 2 matches together and then win the tag team championships at Steal This Show, which you can buy at CatalystWrestling.com for $1. That's right. We're selling a VOD of our whole show. You can watch the entire last show for just $1. $1 American dollar at CatalystWrestling.com. You can also buy tickets for The Real Deal on November 5th in Ridgefield Park. The reason for the season at CatalystWrestling.com. for just $25 for general admission, $30 for first row.
So fun. It's such a fun time, it's just so great, just to hang out over there, get the front row, be part of it. It's only $5 more, right? I'm all about being front row. I'm all in, when I go to these shows. I don't care. I'll get dived at. I swear, I think some of these wrestlers do it on purpose to me at this point now, but go for it. Feel feel everything about these shows. And that's one of the most exciting things that I always say, that I personally rather be in the independent scene over the mainstream. That's just me personally. I love that personal touch about being live, and able to interact with the wrestlers and anybody who's comes out, whether it's a valet. These are always the best things about independent shows. So definitely check. At $1, can't go wrong. Like,
Oh.
that's nuts. So, where is this again to watch this actual show for fans that can't be there live?
Okay, so here's what you need to do. If you want to watch Steal This Show, our last event, our first ever full VOD release, you can go to catalystwrestling.com and pick up a copy there just for $1. You own it for the rest of your life. You just pay $1. If you want to watch the real deal, that will be on VOD on catalystwrestling.com a little bit after we shoot it on November 5th. Will not be live on iPay-per-view, not yet. Mm-hmm. But you can watch it every single week on Catalyst Wrestling Television. If you've got YouTube, subscribe to the Catalyst Wrestling YouTube channel. New episodes drop every Thursday at noon. That's Thursday at noon Eastern Time over at youtube.com/Catalyst Wrestling. You can also, watch us on Fight Network. If you've got cable in the United States, go to fightnetwork.com and search your local listings. We used to be on in the UK, but sadly that channel no longer exists. But if you live in the United States, Canada, or the MENA region, you can catch us on TV every week on the Fight Network. You can find out more at fightnetwork.com.
That's amazing. Definitely. And all those links for you guys, they're in the description below. So the links to the website, the links to the Twitter account, to purchase your tickets. Definitely go. It's a fun time. Like, what are you looking forward to the most here, Matt? Like, I mean, this card is crazy.
Yeah, like, I'm interested in who takes Darius Carter's Brass Ring Invitational.
That's what I was like, I don't know. This is nuts. Like, yeah, I love Darius Carter. He's so, like, underrated, I feel like, to everybody. Like, he's just so great. Like, he's been on this podcast. If you guys haven't checked out that interview, definitely check it out on the Under the Rope series. Like, definitely one of the best well-dressed in the biz right now. I will say it. But so much charisma. And I don't know who's going to enter this. Like...
And we've got a Catalyst Wrestling Championship match, too, with Colby Corino. That fight hasn't been signed. That's an open contract. He's going to be in action. We don't know what the match is going to be. There's a lot of people hitting us up about wanting to wrestle Colby Corino on November 5th. It's going to be an interesting – those two matches, because they're not signed yet. You don't know what's going to happen until we get into the building on November 5th. We don't know how those two matches are going to play out. So – that's going to be, to me, the most, on a match of interesting shows. We know the matchmaking for all of them except those two matches.
Right.
So who's going to step up? Is it going to be someone wrestling another match that night? Is it going to be someone from outside of Catalyst Wrestling? You talked about it before. People just show up to independent shows. And, they're looking to hang out. But the old adage in pro wrestling is always bring your gear. Always have your gear, so you never know who it might be. Mance Warner may want to fight 3 times that night. Who the hell knows? Like, that's the fun part about this show, is that you have these different variables within the matches that are already set up. Like, we have Jesse Bonesaw Brooks debuting on November 5th, and I've seen Jesse Brooks develop, going all the way back to Fighting Spirit Wrestling, going back before that, past that, her in Women of Honor, in Valkyrie, she fights in CFU now. She's one of the toughest people on the planet Earth, and her suplex game is ridiculous. She has a Mike Tyson energy to her that in this match, it's gonna be interesting to see how she does in Catalyst as opposed to being outside of there, and whether or not she's going to take her opponent lightly or not. Is she going to take her opponent for granted? Under the spotlight in these matches, you never see it. Conor McGregor walks in, for every Mike Tyson, there's a Buster Douglas. So you never know what's going to happen. Clarissa Shields, just last night in the PFL, her second ever MMA fight. Undefeated pro boxer, one of the toughest women to ever step in the ring, one of the toughest fighters to ever step in the ring. A 2-time Olympic gold medalist. Loses by split decision. There's no split decisions in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
But if you take your eye off your opponent for a second, if you don't trust your game plan, or if you just take someone lightly, you can be looking up at the lights in 3 seconds. Oof. That's not about meritocracy. Pro wrestling isn't about meritocracy. It's about the right place, the right time. Any given match, any given time, someone can pull off the victory, and we might see that in any of these matches on Friday night.
Oof. Are there going to be any surprises at this show?
When is there not a surprise at a pro wrestling show?
This is true.
Answer me a ho hum time you've had. Tiffany, answer me a ho hum time you've had at a Catalyst wrestling show. You've been at quite a few Catalyst wrestling shows.
Yeah.
When's the last time you had a ho hum time? You're like, yeah, it was good.
No.
Or are you leaving there like, I need to see this again.
Absolutely.
I need to see these matches again.
Absolutely. I love it. And you know what the cool thing is like, even with me, like, I'll go to these shows and, you know, I'll be with my phone or I'll be with my professional camera and I'm taking these clips. And then I love, like, even like, you know, on the time hop, you go back and you're like, oh my God, like, how cool. Like, I mean, how many times have we all done that, right? You're like, oh, I forgot this moment. Like, this was amazing. Like, so I definitely had like a bunch of those moments as well. So, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see Gangon and Leroy be together again. Like, I love those two. It's so great. You know, like, I mean, there's so many matches here. Like, I'm looking forward to all great matches. And, you know,
and
like,
also,
just, you know,
there's beer there. You can get drunk at the show. Like, we're half the reason we're running Ridgefield Park is because there's a bar there, and we want our fans we're about the fan experience.
Yeah.
At Catalyst Wrestling, we try to make this the most fun you can have on a Friday or Saturday night with all of your clothes on.
Yeah.
And what we are trying to do on on Friday night, November 5th, is not only provide you a kick-ass wrestling show, we're trying to provide you a kick-ass time overall. If you've never been to a Catalyst Wrestling show before, you've never been to any of our shows, I invite you to come out. Just give us a try. Yeah. You know, this is a tasting menu of not only some of the best professional wrestlers we have to offer, but some of the best professional wrestlers the industry has to offer. Yeah. Nowhere else are you going to see a guy like O'Shea Edwards, who's competed for Ring of Honor, go up against KTB, a former GCW world champion, going up against Lucky Ali, who was on New Japan Strong. Like, you don't have those opportunities in a lot of places. We're trying to provide you a fun tasting menu of pro wrestling that you may not be able to see anywhere else, because we love pro wrestling. We love different styles of pro wrestling. We love different presentations of pro wrestling. We have, you know, people like Portia Vaughn. We have people like Bobby Orlando. We have these personalities that you're not going to see anywhere. Oh, you're going to see Bobby everywhere else. But you got Portia Vaughn, Zach Amico. You've got the commentary team. You got Brandon Lewis. You got Dave Knows from Dave Knows Wrestling. You have all of these different people, all of these different personalities in one room at one time, and you never know what's going to happen. Yeah. And that's the fun part of Catalyst Wrestling. That name, Catalyst Wrestling, it's about a chain reaction. And every time someone comes through the curtain, there's a chain reaction. And I can put a lot of our matches up against that we did back in September. And I can put the ones we have up in November and say these are some of the best matches we've ever put on as a company.
That's amazing. And it's cheap. Like, I always tell people, like, come give it a try. Like, you know, independent wrestling is so much cheaper than you go into these mainstreams, and then, like, Nosebleed is like $100 and something for $25. Like, you can't go wrong.
And it's not even just about the ticket price. Yeah. Like, you're going to the Garden, you're going to the Coliseum, going to the Prudential Center, you're paying $20 for food. You're paying $10, $13 for a beer. Like, you're paying NHL, NBA, NFL prices for pro wrestling. Pro wrestling is for the people. This is something that rose up from the carnivals, that rose up from the shows, that is the most tangible version of theater for all walks of life. That's the great thing about professional wrestling. That's what makes it better than every single sport, every single genre. It is for everyone. And that's what we try to provide with our shows. Our tickets are $30, $25, and you know, we used to think about, you know, how do we make the experience worth it? Yeah. You throw in a $3 beer, you throw in some hot dogs, you throw in some awesome merch, and you throw in an awesome experience from when you step through the door on November 5th till you leave on November 5th. We're providing you the best possible entertainment for your dollar. And we will work ourselves to death to ensure every dollar spent, every person that walks through that door, every sponsor like Culpeper Legal, who sponsored the Brass Ring Invitational, you get your money's worth and then some. We want you leaving there feeling like you just left a religious experience. That's our goal every time out, to make these shows be something you talk about days from now, weeks from now. And the reason why our VOD shows are $1 is because we want more people to see them. We want you to be a part of the experience. We want you to be a part of what we're doing because we believe in it. We believe it's special. We want you to be a part of it, and we're going to try to bring it to you any way we can. That's why we're on TV across the country. It's why we're on in Houston, why we're on right outside of LA, why we're on in Canada. You can watch us in Saudi freaking Arabia, for God's sake. We want you to have an opportunity to give us a try. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But if you like it, giving you any way to watch it. You can watch us on Tubi. You can watch us on Vudu, some of the biggest platforms, Netflix competitors. And you can watch our content on there absolutely free. No paywalls, no nonsense, no bullshit, fun wrestling.
It's so crazy how, like, now you can watch wrestling pretty much everywhere now.
Oh, yeah. Like, chasing down PW torrents, XWT, just trying to find anything, like old PWG DVDs when I was in high school, ROH shows, old TV. Now it's everywhere, and it's amazing. That's the lovely thing about pro wrestling, is that you can watch it at any time. You can watch it anywhere, anytime, with any person, and it's unnecessarily good.
Yeah, so good. I love it. So excited for next week. So you know what? So I have one final question for you, and then we'll flash up the card again for everybody to see. And again, you can buy tickets, and we'll go through that whole spiel again. You know, like, so what is the goal for Catalyst Wrestling? Like, where do you see yourself in a couple of years?
We see ourselves being a definitive alternative for people who want to watch pro wrestling. A lot of people who come to our shows are not pro wrestling fans. A lot of people try pro wrestling for the first time because of friends, because of people who have been to our shows, and they know what we're providing them is different than anything else they'll do on a Friday or Saturday night. We want to be that opportunity. We want to have a chance, whether it's in New York, New Jersey, anywhere in the world, to provide fun, engaging pro wrestling for people who have been to 1 million shows, people who've been to 10 shows, people who've never been to a show. Because pro wrestling is, you know, it's about creating something that nobody else can do. Can't do it in MMA, can't do it in boxing, can't do it in football, certainly can't do it in bocce ball. So the only way you can do it is in pro wrestling, and we want to be able to put ourselves, put our talent, put our content on bigger platforms, get it in front of more people, and just spread the word about pro wrestling and be Catalyst Wrestling. That's what I want to be in 5 years. I want to be Catalyst Wrestling. I want this brand to continue to grow and be something sustainable for all talent. It's not just about me. It's not just about Lee Mann. It's not about the office. It's not about the people, just the people in production. It's about every single person who does work for us, from an intern to the executive producer and all points in between. It's about creating more opportunities for all of us and to elevate our sport onto a new platform.
Amazing. So excited for this journey. So excited to see where we're gonna go. I'm so excited for next week, guys. Definitely buy tickets, support them, go give them a follow. Again, all the links are down below. So excited. Do you know, after November, when are you gonna run another show before the new year?
We are not running another show in 2021.
Okay.
But 2022, we're gonna be early. We're gonna be in January. We're gonna be early in January, and the only way you'll find out the next time we're gonna be running live is if you're in the building.
Ooh.
On November 5th. You'll know exactly when we're running. Not sure if we're gonna tell you where, but you'll know when we're running that night. And we've got some interesting stuff lined up for the start of 2022. So if you want to see what the next year of Catalyst Wrestling looks like, you're going to want to be in the building on November 5th. If you're a fan of New York professional wrestling, you're going to want to be wanting to be in the building with us on November 5th, because it's going to be a night that will set the tone for our company for the next year, next 5 years. It's going to be an interesting night, and you're not going to want to miss it.
Definitely go, guys, if you can go. And again, like I said, I mean, the bus leaves you off literally a block away. If you don't drive, it literally leaves you a block away from the venue, which is great. And like Matt said, you could go get drunk.
And there's a 7-Eleven down the street, so you can get yourself some Gatorade after the show, hydrate up, be ready for the next day, be ready for the weekend. It's the greatest way to pregame for the weekend. If you take a look at that card right there, that's just a sampling of what we've got for you on November 5th. It doesn't have the Slam Jam. It doesn't have Colby Corino's title defense. We've got so much good shit for you next Friday night. I can barely contain myself.
Hype train. I love it. If you guys are listening to this later, let us know in the comments below, what match are you looking forward to the most? I'd love to hear from you guys. Like, definitely. Matt, tell everybody where they can follow you and Catalyst and all that stuff again.
It's not about me, but you can follow me on the Twitter machine at @MRyanConsulting. That's @MRyanConsulting. But for all of you out there who like pro wrestling and like free pro wrestling, that's the important thing. FREE Pro Wrestling. You can go to @CatalystWrestle on Twitter, @CatalystWrestle on Instagram, and you can go to CatalystWrestling.com to buy your tickets for The Real Deal next Friday night, November 5th. Bell time is 8 p.m., but get there for 7:30. You're not going to want to miss the social media free-for-all starting the evening. Got Bobby Orlando in action, a rare match for Bobby Orlando and Catalyst Wrestling. And if you love Bobby Orlando, you're not going to want to miss that. You've got a whole bunch of cool stuff. You can buy Steal This Show featuring Darius Carter versus Colby Corino, Myron Reed versus Ghost Shadow, and so much more good shit for $1. $1 American dollar. You get Casey Navarro versus Braden Lee for $1.
So good.
And you can buy that at CatalystWrestling.com along with tickets to The Real Deal next Friday night. And be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. We drop new episodes of Catalyst Wrestling Television hosted by Dave Lee and Brandon Lewis, anchored by our own Stephen James, every single Thursday at noon Eastern. That's Thursday at noon Eastern on our YouTube channel. Search Catalyst Wrestling. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Matt, thank you for coming on, telling everybody a little bit about Catalyst Wrestling, coming on, promoting the show. I'm really looking forward to it. So you guys never know. There's still matches that aren't announced. It looks like that, you don't know who's going to come, like a Darius. You don't know what Colby. So got to find out. So, but yeah. So that's going to end it for us today. Thank you guys for hanging out in the chat. Again, if you got comments, leave them in the comments below. Again, I'd love to hear what you guys are looking forward to the most. So guys, you have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, support independent wrestling, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night.
Feeling miserable.